and welcome everybody back once again to World of Racing, and we are here for the GT3 night. We're trying this again, as apologies for the late start here, as my internet decided to act up as last minute, and we gotta love live TV, folks. Anyways, Mike Nussert alongside me tonight is none other than Sagar Bakshi. Sagar, we've already done this song and dance before. Why don't we talk about it once again?
Hello, ladies, gentlemen, racers, and race fans, and welcome to World of Racing, brought to you by AK Esports. We're having a world of a time. We're going to be going around Watkins Glen and Barcelona Moto, the one without the chicane, the horrendous chicane that we all know and love. And yes, I'm excited to watch these GT Aero cars go around. They are akin to some GT3 cars that you may recognize on the racing circuit.
You may or you may not, as they are going to be, as you mentioned, the GT3 Aero. It's not an Audi V10, it is an Aero V10 by every stretch of the imagination, according to Race Sim Studio, which it is a brilliant mod and a great representation of the Audi. The R8, of course, the classic R8 with a boatload of torque and that mid-engined V10 that sings ever so perfectly. And Sagar, why don't we head down to the track and talk about the tail end here of qualifying, as it is now coming down to the wire. Down here to qualifying, and we can see the cars on track. It's Kian, the man on top, with Dylan behind, and Dylan behind, and Ahmad in third position, but it's an entire second to gap, and this Sagar has stayed the same way pretty much from the first few laps that were set.
That's pretty impressive for Kian to get that lap done so early on in this qualifying session. But more concerning are the drivers that were unable to find that pace to drop down into the 46s. We all know qualifying pace isn't really indicative of how the race is going to go. We've seen others like Andrew Janis make mistakes before during their race sessions because of how fast and rapid they have been, and that really leads to their demise. So hopefully we won't see any of that, but maybe that pace will just slip back a little bit further for the race session.
Very well may. You got to keep in mind, though, of course, Andrew Janis took victory last week in race 2. He finished second in race 1. Dylan took victory in a race 1, and Dylan took second in race 2. They traded blows last week, and like the heavyweights from the 90s, Tyson and Fury, well, that's going to mean absolutely nothing to Andrew Janis, as he is a, 11-year-old karting champion, and wasn't quite around for that time, Sagar.
Was he not around for the Mazda MX-5 event?
For the 90s.
Oh, for the 90s. No, he was definitely not around for the 90s. Well, then again, neither were you, Mike Noss.
That's
you weren't
fair.
Around for the 90s.
I did just miss the boat on the 90s by like a couple months. I was 3 months short, okay?
Yeah, thank you for reminding me how old I am, Michael Noss. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. But you know who's not young? Are these drivers on track? They're seasoned veterans at World of Racing, and they're doing a great job of showing us what they're made out of. A whole heap of drivers into that 47 margin. We're seeing all the way from P3 down to P9 right now, all within that 47, 147.9, being Andrew right now, and then Ali holding the threshold back of the 48s and above.
Andrew surprisingly out of position. I'm wondering if that was a hold up on a lap, or if this is maybe just not a track that he's been too accustomed to over the years. Andrew, obviously you mentioned seasoned veteran on track, certainly, again, lacking in the experience department when it comes to the amount of time around the earth, but hey, he still makes do with what he's got. He's quite the quick kid. He can't, I guess, look a gift horse in the mouth. Let's see what he can make, though, from this qualifying session. Last time around, Andrew qualified in second, qualified in first. Basically, he qualified where he finished the race. Wait a second, now I'm just realizing that Dylan also did the exact same thing, and I didn't just copy the same results either. They are, in fact, different PNGs. So, wow, very impressive from the two. Dylan and Andrew really are the two consistent eyes to keep on, and Dylan in third position right now, and not improving on his lap either. He's not into the 46s just yet, but he's broaching just over the limit into the 47 zeros.
And just pulling up the GT3 league standings right now, Andrew leads with 190 points in his pocket right now, and right behind is Dylan with 185, and then Robert with 160. Kian with 159, Tim H with 145, tied with Ahmad for 145, Nicholas right behind with 144, Nick with 138, Lee with 133, Ryan with 133. The championship has been close, but holy smokes, we got a lot of drivers tied for points as we approach round 3.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the championship doesn't mean much at this stage. We've had 4 rounds of racing, this being the 5th round of racing, so this is where it starts to really matter, of course. You can't really be affording to drop points, especially if you are up at the top ranks right now. And Andrew and Dylan, I'm very curious how they're not even on points, as they did finish. Oh, penalties, of course. Yes, penalties. That would do it. Dylan having a 3-second penalty potentially there in race 2, so might be playing a role there, but I'm curious because they had the same results. Either way, the maths have mathed their ways out, and I'm sure some smarter people than I, Sauger, have done the work, so I definitely trust it over my napkin math.
100%. I gotta trust the people running the Excel spreadsheets behind the scenes and feeding us this data and letting us know what's going on for the championship standings, but it still is anyone's jam right now. Andrew finds his way going up into 3rd position with a 146.934, and another 46.9 gets thrown in from Ryan up at the front of the grid.
Not bad at all. Dylan, though, not into the 46s. He's just missed the boat. Ahmad also into the 47s, kind of topping at Mr. Consistent, what I've been calling him throughout these past races. He hasn't really shown that. He had made some mistakes recently. So Ahmad, I think, on a bit of a redemption arc himself now, and their qualifying does come to an end, and we can see it's Kian on top, Ryan 2nd, Andrew Janis in 3rd, Dylan in 4th, Ahmad in 5th, Andreas in 6th, Bradley 7th, Tim 8th, Michael 9th, and Ali rounding out your top 10 with Nicholas in 11th, Chan Young 12th, Lee in 13th, Freddie 14th, Christopher 15th, and then that will round out the grid.
And a beautiful grid of drivers that we have driving these cars around, and they're doing a good job of showing us what they're absolutely made of. And of course, this is akin to the 6 hours of the Glen, although we won't be running for 6 hours here tonight, will we, Mike?
No, it's going to be a little short sprint. And if you yourself are looking to get out on track here at World of Racing, if you are in the Tustin area, the Pasadena, or Kansas City, Kansas, head on down to World of Racing, get yourself set up on some of these wonderful Sigma Interglade motion simulators, testing out the Hussenfeld pedals with the Simicube wheels. It's all around a great time, a great experience, and whether you are on a budget or going all the way for some of the higher end packages, there is all the way around some great deals at World of Racing. Do get on down, folks, and get involved with race night, get involved with members night, get involved with the leagues. It's always a good time down here, and let's have it as the lights get ready to go green. This is the first race of tonight. Watkins Glen is the track, and GT3 is the name of the game. Kian on pole position, Ryan alongside. Let's see exactly how this is going to boil over as we go green, 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 and immediately Kian has a solid start. It's going to be even matched from Brian behind, though, to the outside of the 90. 2x2 nose arc formation is the start, and it's pretty much 2x2 throughout the grid in the mid-pack. Ryan slaps in, Andrew behind, Dylan in 4th, Ahmad in 5th. Pretty much everyone as they were up top, Sauger.
Absolutely phenomenal race start there from Kian, but now Ryan trying to go around the outside of the chute there. And will he be able to hold on after the S's now headed down in towards the back straight? Holy smokes, Kian is throwing it all in. Ryan had to back out of it, but now Ryan's under threat from Andrew, and Andrew throwing it up next to Dylan as well.
I was convinced that destruction was about to be sown, but thankfully Ryan, with his head on his shoulders, backs out. Andrew licking his lips in the background as there's a tasty morsel ahead of him right now, but he also needs to look in the rearview mirror because Dylan is looming and not too far behind. It's a send to the outside of the toe, but that's not going to gain you much ground. The switchback attempt maybe down the mid-little straight here. We're going to go 2x2. Is it going to be the move, though? Done and dusted for Dylan. Or Andrew, excuse me, to the inside. It's going to be advantage for Andrew, runs him out of the track, and Ryan has to concede the position, sends it back though at the top of the hill, is gonna have a bit of contact, the car's spinning, and there's a car park. Andrew Janis almost flips on over, bumping and banging left and right, and Sauger, this is what I like to see whenever I'm driving home, or what I don't want to see when I'm driving home from Seattle on the 405.
Absolutely, and I have a feeling like we might get a race restart due to that incident. That was a huge pileup of cars. Nearly half the field got collected in that, and now we're seeing a couple of drivers having to warp back to the pits. And yes, this will be a red flag, and a restart will be taking place here in just a few moments.
Re-rack him and re-stack him. We were so close to making one lap here. Unfortunately, it was not meant to be in this case. Let's try this again, shall we? As we have the grid re-upped and everybody ready to go here. It's the standing start formation. Once again, 6 red lights to come on. 18 minutes on the clock for the Glen. And let's try this once more as we get ready to go. Green, 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 and now immediately it looks like it's a pretty dead even heat again for Kian, but in the mid-pack it's squabbling left and squabbling right. We might go 3 wide into the corner as there's bumping and banging already. There's a challenge to the outside there from Dylan, but not really any contest. As he goes back onto the circuit though, Ahmad sneaks down the inside like a cunning fox into the S's and takes the position for free. Michael behind. Now he's going to be slipstream from Bradley as there's back and forth banging between Ali and Tim. Side by side, you need to decide who's going to be ahead before you get to the chicane. And from behind, Ryan thinks about a look, but no dice to be found. And it's a little out of shape for Ryan. Andrew really applying the pressure now, but he manages to hold on.
Really good start for all the drivers this time around. The headlights are on for safety. You can see them illuminating the blue Armco barriers to the left-hand side there. And now the drivers are all single file line, a little bit further apart than we were on the previous restart. But sure, this is going to be a great showing from all the drivers. Kian, Ryan, Andrew, and Ahmad making the leap forward into 4th place.
And a great start from them here as we're going to be seeing a thought there to the outside from Andrew, but it's really just trying to keep your opponent's head on a swivel, not allow them any sort of breathing room. Or is Andrew actually thinking about fixing a move up here very shortly? It's almost looking like he is. You got to be so careful on Watkins Glen. I know there's only 16 minutes left, Sauger here, but you got to pick your battles carefully and choose when to strike.
Absolutely, because there are so few passing opportunities to be had. And there goes a car into the wall there at turn 15. And that will be coming out onto the main straightaway. And holy Toledos are out. That will be Ali and Andrew getting collected in that collision there. Holy
looks like
smokes.
Looked like Andrew there with an unforced error. I don't know if there was contact that sent him out wide, but he smacked the bowling wall and ended up going clattering into the pit separating barrier. That is massive damage that's going to be had. It's only 25% damage here tonight, but he's still going to be feeling it as we though rejoin the front pack now. Ahmad battling for a podium, but it's going to be a massive tap to the rear as Dylan thought about a look, but he was carrying way too much speed. How Ahmad held on to that, he must have been wrestling an octopus to keep the car on track, but he manages to fend off Dylan for now. But the pace, the difference isn't going to be too much. Everybody though settling in for the roller coaster ride down the boot and chute.
Yeah, single file line will be the order of the day now. Like I said about going into the bus stop in the previous stream that we were talking about, where you really have to be fully alongside the driver to make that move end up working out in your favor. Riding on board with Dylan, driving the LMS Arrow. Wowza! Late on the brakes if I've ever seen it. Almost runs into the back of Ahmad, and that'll send him at least a second behind of the car in front. Ahmad battling for that top spot of the podium.
Ahmad, a bit of a scare there for him, but he's not looking back, he's looking forward. Ryan is ahead of him, and he's looking a little bit slow. Kian has kind of disappeared into the sunset right now and is a solid 2 seconds ahead of the rest of the field, really showing that qualifying pace. It was not just one-off, to be honest. It was a one-time lap, but he's showing that it's consistent throughout here. The driver's in the low 47s up front, and Kian, I think, maybe in the 46s. I didn't quite catch his lap time here, but it's certainly looking like some electric pace. Bradley behind. Some position changes. Nicholas is facing the wrong way on track. Cars having to avoid him. Christopher takes to the escape road, and everyone avoids contact. That's Andrew Janis getting by as well. Not sure what happened here, but as we rejoin, Andreas is looking like making a move himself down into 6th position, the inside line for the inner loop. You have to be so careful, and he knows that he backs out. Oh, but it's a mistake from Michael, and Andreas gets by, and so does Chan Young.
Amazing. See, and that's what we were talking about. You can always scare someone into making a mistake going into that chicane, but you can't really force an error or force a move to be done on the entrance there because you weren't fully alongside that driver. Going in there side by side through the inner loop is one of the most dangerous places to be because of how much speed you're carrying coming up from the S's and coming down that back straight.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not really a 2 goes into 1 situation when it comes down to it. You're going to end up door banging, and when you're door banging at that highest speed, it's just going to end up in somebody flying off at Mach 10 into the barrier, and you never want that. That's just never what you want to see, especially because the barriers here in Assetto Corsa are mostly all solid and very much so, and not comfortable to be having a trip onto. Looking though at our front pack, Dylan, Ahmad, Ryan still locked in arms right now, and are we going to see a move? Kian, fastest lap of the 46.1. He is absolutely flying. Nobody is answering his pace right now, and I think the drivers know it. They're just going to let him disappear. Ryan, though, has to look behind. 5/10 in the mirror is Ahmad, and pulling off to the side is, I think, Freddie here, as he has just left pit lane.
Yeah, and I don't think the drivers really have a choice but to let Kian run away with it right now because the squabbling is going to continue. There goes Dylan trying to make a move around the outside of Ahmad, coming up the hill through the S's. This is a fully alongside, side-by-side overtake, and he absolutely licks the stamp, sends it going into the inner loop. Can he keep the traction beneath him? He does, and Ahmad falls back into 4th position. The number 33 gets passed by the number 1.
Such a close call, though, as he got very unsettled on the curbs. That is the danger. It's so high speed. You take that curb too much and you are going to fly off circuit, as I mentioned. But that's not what happened. Dylan is an expert in that field, and he gets the overtake done. Ollie makes it happen in a different spot of the track around Tim, although Tim looking uncharacteristically slow. I'm wondering if there was a bit of a mistake coming out of the inner loop. Andrew Janis, he's clawed his way back up the field into 10th. Still a long ways to go, though, for the young lad, and it's a bit of a despair race on this one, as this is going to be a loss of points to his rival right now, Dylan.
Dylan 2/10 away from Ryan now, and now a little bit of a mistake there from Ryan. He's going to be on the optimum line. Dylan is looking at his fellow mate in that same livery car, the number 1 chasing down the other number 1. Looking towards the inside out of turn 15, now having the big run down towards the front straight and in towards turn 1. This is going to be huge for Dylan. Bobbing, weaving, checking up on the inside line, trying to scare Ryan into any sort of mistake, but he's not having any of that. Now riding on board with Dylan, coming up the hill through the S's. Will he do to Ryan what he did to Ahmad on the previous lap? Potentially so, because look at all this extra speed he's carrying, and he's going to be fully alongside for sure, but this time he's bobbing and weaving to the outside line and going over to the side-by-side cam. It's almost 3 wide going into the bus stop chicane. The inner loop is going to be very intimidating, but Dylan does get the move done, but everybody touches a little bit of grass there and almost loses it. But Dylan all the way up into 2nd place now.
A brilliant display of aggression from Dylan tonight, as he is now trying to take advantage of the fact that his rival is falling down the field. He's maximizing the haul of points. Sure, he might not be able to beat Kian, but he can beat everybody else, and that is going to be enough for him. Andrew has gained 2 positions since we last mentioned, but now the gap 5.5 seconds to Chan Young. It'll be a while before he catches up, probably not too long at the end of the day. He should be finishing maybe somewhere or even around 5th position. It wouldn't surprise me. Andrew has a lot of pace. He just needs to unlock it on this circuit, and it seems like this might be one of his weaker tracks, Watkins Glen. Oh, speaking of weaknesses, Ryan and Dylan showing a little bit of that as they run wide. You can run quite wide on this circuit. In fact, why don't you tell the audience about the off-track rules here on Assetto Corsa?
On Assetto Corsa, pretty much anything is going to go, especially here at Watkins Glen. Going wide into turn 1 shouldn't get you a standby. We have a little bit of a side-by-side squabble there. Ahmad and Ryan going to blows there, coming out of 15, and they're going to continue this run going in towards turn 1. Holy Toledos are definitely out side by side. The number 1 gets pinched by the 33, drifting a little bit far out and wide, and that'll conclude that epic battle, and soiree is concluded.
A gutting one, and Mr. Consistent hits the curb. It unsettles the car. You can call it a racing incident, you can call it a mod's fault, you can call it what you will. The results are the same. Both drivers ending up in tears. And they'll be having the stewards inquiry on that one for sure, and that'll be after the race, I have no doubt. And they will decide the apt penalty for, if there is one even required for that. Again, I can see that going either way. It needed a different camera angle. The one that we had was not quite optimal. Ryan here, though, now taking advantage of the fact that he has just gained 2 free positions right on the back of Chan Young. And we have a new podium sitter. It's Andreas. I don't even think he expected to be here tonight.
Absolutely not. And now Bradley has a chance for a podium spot. The number 33, 5/10 away from Andreas, but it's looking like a lot closer on the racing circuit. The 33 chasing down the number 32. We're riding on board, or we're looking at Andreas right now for Team Skechers. But now the 33 closes down the gap just a little bit, lap after lap. And we've got 7.5 minutes remaining in this race. We haven't even mentioned how scalding the track temperature is. It's 37 degrees, 26 degrees ambient so far.
Yeah, hot track, and tires will be noticing, especially these Audis. They can get loads of tire temperature, and they have so much torque, so much power, that it can be a bit of an issue to deliver at times. Sagar, I know you've driven this car quite a bit, and you can attest this car is a little bit of a handful.
Yeah, this track and car combo must be an absolute handful for the drivers to have to contend with. The limited amount of grip that this car gives during these high-speed corners, and even some of this low-speed stuff. The car has a massive amount of aero throughout the S's and of the likes, but really it's through these low-speed corners that the drivers are going to have a lot of issues with. But everybody seems to be doing fairly well right now and managing their expectations well as also.
Yeah, they do. Everyone got their firm head on their shoulders and not really batting an eye around the sort of drivers that have fallen. Couple issues have been had, and as I say that, well, sorry, Bradley, commentator's curse, I suppose you could call that one, an unintentional one at that. Now dropping down the order like a stone, and he seems to be facing maybe a little bit of damage as he closes his way back onto the circuit very slowly. And Ollie might even gain a position himself up into the single-digit paying positions here, which will be nice for his points, of course. He won't look a gift horse in the mouth. Every point will matter at the end of this GT3 championship.
Why would you ever lick a horse in the mouth, Mike Noss? It's more side-by-side action here.
Look a gift horse in the mouth is the saying. Either way, but yes, the more action. No, you're not licking a gift horse. Come on.
I'm gonna have to Google this one.
You've never heard of looking a gift horse in the mouth? Okay, well,
no.
Sagar's older than me. He's even heard that. That's an old saying, I thought. Okay, whatever. The show's in chat. Let me know. Am I crazy? Anyways, but Chan Young loses the back end and almost has a way back into pit lane. Like a ballerina, he spins around. This is not the sport, though, to be doing that. Oh, careful, as now Lee Ahmad gets by Bradley. He finds himself a bit of a oh man, it's all Lee or Chan Young as Austin powers it without even a wall being there. It's sort of a virtual wall. If he does pull out there, then all of a sudden he's gonna get punched in the face.
In case you were curious about looking a gift horse in the mouth, I have the story behind it. And
we got some gaps, but let's hear it. Andrew Janis is Andrew Janis is battling here for 4th position, but this is the next paying position. So why don't you enlighten us on the origin of looking a gift horse in the mouth?
people can judge the age or quality of a horse by looking at its mouth. If you're going to buy a horse, you'd want to check to make sure that the horse has qualities you think you're paying for. The idea is that if someone's giving you a horse for free, it really shouldn't matter what qualities the horse has, assuming you're interested in owning a horse at all. And trying to assess its value, particularly right in front of the giver, is usually like giving a gift and asking how much did this cost. It can come across as rude or ungrateful. So that's why you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. It is rude or unpleasant. You just take it for what it is and say thank you very much.
Just like Andrew was trying to do with Ryan, as he says thank you very much and steals away the position with relative ease. I do have to say, Sauger, speaking of on that modern era, if somebody was to give me a free horse, I'm going to be completely honest, I might just say no. I might have to look a gift horse in the mouth, because what am I going to do with a horse? You can't keep it. I live in an apartment. I can't keep it in my bedroom. Like, what are we on about here? My backyard? It's 5 feet long.
Horses live in stables, Mike Noss. You can keep it in your parking stall downstairs, of course.
Yeah, I bet my apartment manager would be absolutely thrilled that... anyways, as Ryan has to look at the back now of Andrew Janis, unfortunately, and Andreas is still 4.5 seconds into the distance. We're down to the last 3 minutes here, Sauger, of the race, and Ryan and Andrew still going at it. Actually, Ryan thought about a look into the inner loop, but there's no way that's going to happen, and he thinks better of it, doesn't want to go for it. We might see a move, though, from Ollie and Bradley as well.
I'm more curious about that move between, you're absolutely right, Ollie and Bradley. You're absolutely right. Those are the two drivers I was looking at on the charts. I was thinking about Ryan and Andrew, but no, that gap has separated themselves. The 8/10 gap will be far-fetched for Ollie to close down right now as we ride on board the RSS Sport team of Ollie. A bit of a recovery drive that he's in right now. He was sitting pretty in the podium spots, but now tumbled down the order all the way down to 11th at one point in time and clawing his way back up into the top 10.
And clawed his way he is. Looking at some of the other drivers, it's been a bit of a yo-yo performance for all the way around for some of them. Kian is really the only driver that stayed up there. Dylan has gone down a little bit, but then he's gone immediately back up, and like a bat out of hell, to be honest. Dylan, sort of the MVP of this race, I do have to say, or driver of the day, maybe you might have to give an award to, as he has gone through thick and thin to get here, to be honest. It's been mostly thick. Now with a bit of a thin running at the end, he's lapping in the 46s, so he's clearly found his rhythm around this Watkins Glen circuit.
Yeah, really has. And finding a way to put down those lap times. Kian putting down qualifying pace 146 still at this stage of the race is very impressive. Dylan trying to stay in touch with him, but realizing that's just not feasible. 8.3 is the gap, then 3.4 back is Andreas. And then Andrew with his recovery drive down 3.2 into 4th place.
Ryan just a little bit back from that. He does not have the pace, it seems, to match Andrew Janis. Lee, 15 seconds to the back of Ryan. He's sort of fallen off there a little bit and created a pack of his own. He's the beginning of the second pack here, you could start to say. Bradley behind him, Ollie in 8th, who might be having his look on to Bradley soon. Tim, if there's enough battling, could find himself in this one, but we're down to the last lap, or going to be approaching, I should say, the last lap next time around here. So running out of time for Tim and Ollie. Well, he's going to be thanking his lucky stars for that one, because it gives him all of the time in the world, or at least, well, one more lap, 3.6 more miles of trying to overtake Bradley.
This might actually be the last lap with just 20 seconds left on the clock. It'll be very close to see if Kian gets to the line in time. He might be able to do so on this occasion. He's coming around turn 15 now. Oh, plenty of time to get to the line, and we will obviously get the Assetto Corsa bonus lap of the race. White flag will be waving this time around.
And Ollie's gap is sort of slipping through his hands right now like sand. Bradley walking away. 7/10 is not ideal. Bradley, though, might get bottlenecked by Lee if he does have the pace, and that could also play into Ollie's hands. Maybe a little 2-for-1. Fastest lap also set by Andrew, a 1:45.8. Where was that in qualifying, Sauger?
Really, where was that pace in qualifying? Now just coming to grips with this GT3 car, the Aero V10 package, Evo 2. and finally coming to grips. But even with that damage, throwing down a 145 is very impressive.
Absolutely is, and very impressive is the drive here from Kian. He has dominated since the word go at this point, and now coming around the final few corners into the boot and shoot. This is sort of his parade lap with an 8.5 second buffer to Dylan. He can afford a little bit of a mistake at this point, but I don't expect him to make one. Down into the heel, right on board with him for the last little bit of this lap. See what it's like for a winner in the factory number 11 Audi Aero V10 through on towards the top of the boot, which I still have no idea what the back of a boot is called. And then on to the last little penultimate corner complex, and then rounding it out to the straight here. It's been a straightforward victory from the beginning, and Dylan, can he answer back next up? That's the question, of course, that we'll be asking ourselves. We do have another race after this, so do not go anywhere, folks, as now there is Kian with a little bit of flourish, and to the line, he is going to take victory.
Really a Class A victory from Kian, bringing it home to the line. 9.1 seconds in front of Dylan. Andreas 4 seconds away from second place. Andrew, with his amazing recovery drive, driving the number 32, 0.8 away from a podium points paying position. Say that 10 times fast. Then Ryan, Lee, Ali, Tim, Michael, Nicholas. That will round out the top 10.
And down into 11th, Ahmad. He fell off the wagon, to be honest. He was in third position at one point. Down into 11th, Bradley. Into 12th, Chan Young. 13th, Christopher. And 14th, and Freddie. With a valiant last but not least finish, of course, down a lap after making a pit stop. But what a race, Sauger. These drivers definitely getting the grips here tonight. And now as we get ready to head over to Barcelona, a very similar track, to be honest, when it comes to Watkins Glen, I would say.
Yeah, it's going to be fast and flowy, that's for sure. But I think that's where the similarities are going to stop because of the high-speed nature of Barcelona Moto. This is going to be a little bit different for the drivers to have to contend with this time around. I think it's going to be a little bit trickier. I think we're going to see lap times roughly about the same, right into the 140s, maybe into the 150 mark.
Yeah, and definitely somewhere around that ballpark, no doubt. We'll be seeing that here very shortly, of course. But Kian, Dylan, Andreas, your victors as we get ready to head on into Barcelona for race 2. The drivers will be taking a brief little break here to grab some water, grab some fluids, and maybe release some fluids as well as they get ready to get into the gut-wrenching race 2 at Barcelona and round 4 of the race 6 of the championship. We'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere, as we'll be back very shortly. welcome back everybody to World of Racing. We are going to be heading on over to the Barcelona de Catalunya circuit for some more action, and this is going to be an amazing race tonight, Sagar. Why, you might ask? Because there's no chicane, like you mentioned. We get the moto layout, we get the creme de la creme of Barcelona and the current F1 layout.
Yes, we will get the current F1 layout and the best layout that Barcelona has to offer. And of course, we are headed to the Catalunya region of Spain here, and this is going to be a great time to be had by all. I'm super excited. Last race was very exciting, and I'm sure this race will be just as exciting.
Indeed. Kian, Dylan, and Andreas, the top three to talk about from the previous race. We'll see how that transitions over. Obviously, Dylan had their incident, or excuse me, not Dylan. My apologies. Andrew had their incident and managed to climb their way back up into fourth position. Ryan in fifth behind. But this is a little bit different circuit than Watkins Glen. I mentioned that they're similar in nature. They're very high speed, fast flowing, lots of kind of SE sections. But this is going to be a very abrasive circuit. Just the nature of the tarmac is very gritty. I don't know, actually, I'm assuming Assetto Corsa models this pretty well. I know they're quite accurate when it comes to modeling of the actual surfaces, even though this is a mod. I know they do a great job of it. One of the factors is for Barcelona in particular, the asphalt, the grain sizes are, oops, I hit my mic, are spread apart from each other more. I don't know how do I explain this, Sagar, in a way that makes sense? Does this make sense what I'm saying? I guess they're, rather than being very condensed small rocks, they're big rocks that are very spaced out, meaning that it's going to cause a lot more abrasion on your tires. Almost like driving more on cobblestone than driving on a flat surface.
So you're saying that the track is a little bit more coarse than it is fine.
Yes, that is exactly what I am attempting to say, Sagar. Those are the exact words that I am in fact looking for. It is a more coarse track, not a fine track. Thank you very much. Yes, like driving over sandpaper, basically. This is going to be more the 80 grit versus that smooth 2000 grit sandpaper. We ain't got none of that here.
No, and hello to C-Trade in the chat, because he says, good luck to the drivers. Let's go, and let's go indeed. The qualifying session is just getting underway, and we'll get over to there in just a few moments. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for joining us here. World of Racing, folks, brought to you by AK Esports and the Sigma Interglade motion simulators that are available to all the drivers available at your World of Racing headquarters. Wherever you are in the United States, head on down to the World of Racing, where you can find yourself driving some heavy grade equipment.
Indeed, and let's go and let's take a look at those drivers driving that exact equipment. Down onto track now, we can see Bradley currently is who we're looking at, but up at the top, it's Kian once more. This is a man who has kind of come out of nowhere, if you do ask me, now ahead of Andrew by about a half second, little over that. Andrew done in second, Ryan third right now, Andreas in now fifth position as Bradley has slotted his way up into third, and on the bottom step of the podium, lots of spread though for right now at Barcelona.
But we still have 11 and a half minutes remaining in this qualifying session, Mike Nah, so times will be plummeting here quick, fast, in a hurry. And speaking of which, Bradley finds himself into third place, a 145.745, and right in front of Ryan and their 145.863. These times are actually a lot faster than they are at Watkins Glen, 2.9 miles long or 4.6 kilometers. A track that was made in 1993, the chicane, the beloved or hated chicane, whichever series that you're in, as yes, added in 2016, located in Barcelona, Spain.
And of course, they banned bullfighting back in 2010 in Barcelona, but here tonight we're going to be seeing these drivers lock horns. This, of course, being the engine that powers along the Lamborghini, so somewhat fitting at the end of the day. The Audi, of course, owned company, representing that 5.2-liter V10 with boatloads of torque and power, and enough really to tenderize an elephant at the end of the day. But here on track, they're going to be displaying it on the tarmac. And speaking of tarmac, Sagar, this track, it looks awfully simple on paper, but as I was just saying, we don't drive on paper, we drive on pavement, we drive on tarmac, and this is a tough one.
Absolutely. It is a very tough track to get right. There are so many really tricky corners coming in through Elf, turn 1, and here just coming out of See It and in through Worth. Again, tricky corners because of how late the braking zones are and how delayed you have to be to get on throttle. And there goes a car getting it wrong at Worth just in front of us. But now coming in through Campsa, it'll be almost all the way out to the DRS board, but not quite there. And then getting set up for La Silla and coming through Banc Sabadell next. And La Silla a little bit closing the door there. Andrew taking an inoptimal line, in my opinion. Could have gone a little bit deeper into La Silla, but now through Banc Sabadell, looks like he's, again, not abusing all the track limits, but a lot of cars are facing the wrong direction, really.
Yeah, and Andrew Janis's times are sort of looking in the wrong direction, facing a load of understeer, but onto the start-finish straight and down the over half-mile-long stretch of road. No improvement to be found here, 144.1. He'll need to find a little more pace around this circuit. And as we go on down here through this track, Sagar, you mentioned a controversial one for me. Is it Lacacia or is it La Silla?
Mike Nas, this is a Spanish track, brother. It's La Silla. Okay. It's definitely not Lacacia, or whatever you said.
I don't know. I've always questioned that one myself, but no, I will agree with you, and that probably is right. But also, I don't know. Got some German corner names in here. I mean, of course, companies. Either way, judging corner names aside, we'll worry about that later. That's just what runs through my brain on a regular, unfortunately. It just spews out sometimes. Kian, Andreas, and Andrew. Well, Kian and Andreas, I should say, really the top two right now in the 143s. On Andrew being a little bit further down than that, although he has a 143 in him. It's a 144.0 for the time being. Behind him, 0.8 of a second separating him and his championship rival, Dylan.
And Mike Noss, I am proven wrong once again. It's actually La Caixa.
Caixa, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, because, yes, okay. That, I believe that. La Caixa. All right.
La Caixa.
I will say, Banc Sabadell, you got there. That one you got right. It might be actually Sabadell. So either way,
man.
corner names aside, I actually think it is Sabadell. Now that I'm looking at it, the double L would be an A. I would think, but his chat is ripping their hair out, I would imagine right now. Just no, through the mid sector now, or the back little stretch. This is one of the best overtaking spots into Lacacia. No, Lacacia. What'd you say it was?
We are checking.
Lacacia, I think, is what you said. I think I'm putting too much flair on it now.
Lacacia.
That's one of your best overtaking spots here at Barcelona. The first corner, Elf. Very difficult. It is possible because of the over half-mile long stretch of land that you get to travel over, and with a big overspeed, anything is possible in racing, and you'll be seeing that here tonight. But you're going to see a lot of sends, kind of a desperation moves down into La Caixa and up on through Banc Sabadell and into the Eurocar kind of area, which we do avoid that RACC chicane, thankfully, as that is, of course, the absolute kryptonite of this circuit. And we'll really, you know what, now that I say that, Sagar, no, hold on, let me take back what I was just saying. We're going to be seeing loads of overtakes into Elf Corner because the chicane was removed. I'm actually really excited for this.
True, the drivers are going to get a ton of slipstream coming out of Europcar, headed through New Holland and all the way down Elf, so basically elongating that straight from about 3/4 of a mile to a little bit longer than that. Of course, New Holland not really part of that straightaway, but the slipstream will be in huge effect, and the drivers will still be very, very flat out coming out of that corner.
Yeah, and I'm almost curious here what it's like. Let's see here. Who is in? It's going to be a mod. Let's go on board with him just to see what that looks like without the chicane. So this is normally where you'd start to be setting up. You would continue turning more right coming up here and then down into the RACC, right where those kind of left-hand boards are. You'd go down into that left-hander, pop out right here, which would kill your speed. You were carrying probably 20 more miles an hour, 30 more miles an hour at a bare minimum through the exit speed here, and carrying all of that onto this long 0.6 mile or 1 kilometer straight.
Absolutely. This is going to be a huge run, an opportunity for the drivers to get their overtaking opportunities done. And Ali finds himself going up into 4th position, a 144.6 now on this occasion. Doing very good with 4 minutes and 45 seconds remaining in this qualifying session. It's still anybody's ball game, but up at the front, Kian leads and Andreas.
And by a good margin still. 0.2 of a second for Andrew, but he's not in the 43s. That's something, of course, to pay note to. The sort of benchmarkers being the seconds. Andrew down on his next lap here. He's currently going through Sector 1, so we'll ride along with him to see what he's looking like. But our drivers currently through the final few corners. We still have a couple more laps to go. Lap times being 143s. Tires are going to be more the issue, I think, at a certain point. The tire wear, I think, is reduced, though. So the fact circuit still is going to play a role, even with the reduced tire wear. You're going to be wanting to set your fastest lap probably on your 2nd, 3rd laps. After that, things are going to start to get a little more difficult.
Yeah, that graining that you talked about earlier will start to get a little bit more difficult and really change up the way that your car ends up gripping up. But now in chat, hello to CT Trade. The horseshoe is a tricky corner, the 3rd to last one. That's Bank Sabadell. And then hello to Rose Jimenez. And they're cheering on Nicholas in 11th place right now, driving the number 56.
Let's go. There's Mr. Nicholas on screen, currently in the 46s. He's got a little bit more to find and to get into the 45s. But right now, off the circuit, he'll get one good flying attempt left here on his laps. This one going to be invalidated as he is letting some faster cars on by here, but doing a good job as a blue flag, no doubt. We love to see the cheers in chat. Let us know who you're supporting, folks. If you are down at World of Racing, either in the Pasadena location or in Tustin or in Kansas City, please let us know who you're supporting, who you're there for, or if you're there for yourself. Give some love. We want to show it on stream here as Ryan is showing no love, but there will be no love lost whatsoever as he finds the gravel trap.
Yeah, that's the exit there of what I believe is Worth, and that's where they're getting caught on circuit. And there goes Andreas caught at Repsol as well. Kian putting down purple sector 3 lap times, carrying a ton more to his name. A 143.281 will be the best that he has. Andreas 43.8, and that'll be the end of their qualifying session as they are resting their head in pit lane and getting a little bit of fresh air.
Yeah, a little bit here. They still will have time if they want to get out on track, but they need to do it about now. Right now is about the cutoff window. You still got a couple more seconds left, but you got to get out of pit lane, of course. That's the biggest issue, is it takes time. You have to get your pit limiter on, wait, all of that excruciatingly, or at least it feels excruciatingly long. It's more like a couple seconds, but it feels like the length of the world. And Kian here is continuing to lap, but he's not gaining time. So I think at this point, Kian's tires are done and dusted. We might see him practice a pit stop. There's no point. There's no pit stops in this league, but hey, why not? I always love to see people practicing their pit entries. Andreas practicing his pit exits right now, and he's going to be trying to get one more lap. There's no way.
Yeah, no way in
maybe
tarnation that it's going to happen. We'll know because the server doesn't give a lot of waiting time once the checkered flag flies, remember? So I don't think Andreas will even get halfway through the lap before his time will be concluded, unfortunately for them. But still trying to at least go get a couple siding laps in, maybe running some race fuel to see how the car is going to feel beneath him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just get those last-minute tests done. Although, at this point, well, I was going to say the drivers should have plenty of practice, but it's not like they know necessarily too far in advance what car/track they're going to be driving. So, practice maybe something that I would say when I'm normally commentating in a league race, but not in World of Racing. That's the beauty here, is there's going to be a bit of a mystery for the drivers. It's a show up, and the drivers, they know they're getting, I think, a GT3, but I'm not sure they know what tracks they're getting here for these ones. And on our members night and on our race nights as well, it's the same story where it's a completely blank slate. You show up, they tell you what you're driving as you're logging into the server.
That's one of the super exciting things at World of Racing, that the drivers don't get a lot of practice. Cheers for Andreas in chat. Good driving, says CT Trade. and that'll be the third place car right now, driving the maroon number 11 and stopping there on the racing circuit right before Europe car, it looks like, and that'll be the end of their efforts.
And the end of quali as well. Any driver previously on a lap will be able to finish, but any driver that hasn't started one yet will not be allowed. So we're going to start to see some lap times rolling in. I'm curious, Freddie here, is he on an improvement lap himself? Coming around that final corner now and on to the start-finish straight. Gets onto the loud pedal and heads his way to the line. A 149 is to beat, and he crosses it, and it's going to stay a 49.6. Christopher also on a lap. We'll see if he can get to the line in time. Andreas, we mentioned, is he gonna? No, he practices pit entry. Let's go, Andreas, a man of my own heart.
The funny thing about AC, Mike Noss, is that there's an auto pit limiter. So really you can jam as fast as you possibly want to and get to the pit line. And the car will just automatically lock it up for you and slow you down to the pit limiter. So there's not much practice that's needed, as much as you like to compliment Andreas on that pit entry. Not as much practice is needed as other simulators. I'm
still giving him credit. He's earned my respect at the bare minimum. And Dylan here, has he earned? No, he hasn't earned a pole position. I saw a lot of improvement there, but it's only going to be enough for fourth. In fact, he stays where he was, a 43.9 though. Not a bad time. So we did end up with more drivers in the 43s when all was said and done. Tim on his lap, he's also improving. Can he find his way into the 44s? Almost certainly, and it's going to be a 44.8.
Nice drive from everybody out here tonight. A whole heap of 44s all the way back from Ali in 5th place, looking down to Bradley in 9th place. Everybody's been doing a 44, and then the front 4 drivers all up into the 43s.
And here we go, folks. The calm before the storm, and the banner on the wall. What happened to everyone? Oh, we're still in pit lane. That's why. I thought I jumped the gun. Okay. As we hold the folks, let me talk about pit lane here. Kian, Andrew, Andreas, and Dylan, your top 4. Ollie in 5th with Lee bringing up 6th. Tim down in 7th. Ryan in 8th. Bradley in 9th. And Michael rounding out your top 10. Ahmad 11th. Chan Young 12th. Nicholas in 13th. Christopher 14th. Freddie and down in 15th. And look at that, the wonderful Tustin car also in pit lane, but just being a TV observer to get that replay. But again, if you are in that Tustin or Pasadena area, do head on down to World of Racing. It is the premium driver experience for everything motion simulators, and also very affordable. Like I said, if you're into the karting scene and want something a little bit different, that's certainly a way to go. Well, here we go, folks. You can even find yourself on camera here on the World of Racing YouTube or Twitch page. This is it, folks. This is the final race of the night. Barcelona, 18 minutes on the clock, 6 red lights, Kian on pole and Andrew alongside, and we are green, 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 and immediately it's going to be a great start for Andrew onto the inside. He might even get a good enough run, but it's Kian who gets away well enough for now. The second phase very much went his way. Down into the braking zone, it's going to be cars to the left and cars to the right, but everybody has to go nip and tuck into the S's through Elf. It's out of shape there for Andrew. He spun it round and is dropping the order. Dylan's collected in the mix, and this Sauger is going to be what we would call a race restart.
100%. This is going to be a race restart. The red flag is waving, and we get regridded for race number 2 here tonight.
Yes, indeed. We re-rack them, restack them, and we try this once more. Hopefully the drivers are on a little bit better of a behavior, as I want to keep this camera, so we're going to have this board in our way for the time being, but once we go green, everything will change. 6 red lights are going to be on here. As the timing board goes alight, the Christmas tree is ready to go. And we go green, green, green once more, and now it's going to be another pretty even start. Kian getting away well. Andrew in the background, as it's going to be a long jaunt down into the braking zone. This time, though, Kian, much less pressure, but from behind, it's going to be 3 abreast into the braking zone from Ollie, Andreas, and it looks like Ryan taking the positions. Oh, and no, not again. Down into the back of Kian is Andrew. He resumes side by side. There's cars everywhere restarting.
And let's try for the 3rd time here tonight at World of Racing and see if we can get this one done and dusted the right way this time around.
Yes. Let's try this again. As we get ready to line up here once again, folks. It's going to be 6 red lights on. Keen at the top of the field. Andrew needs to work that brake pedal a little bit better now, this time into the braking zone. Let's try it once more, folks, as we go green, green, green once again. And this time Andrew gets away quite well and will be in that slipstream immediately. Kean is going to be under threat. He's going to be sweating like a cow in a burger joint. It has, oh goodness, there's already cars crashing. It's just 1, 2, bump and bang and doors alight. Andrew takes the lead down to the inside. A brilliant little maneuver there. Dylan does lock up into the back, and there's more clattering and contact into Elf. Rejoining the circuit is going to be Bradley. He's back on, I think Tim as well, Lee, and well as Ollie, but leading the field is Andrew with Ryan behind and Andreas in third. And I'm wondering, Sagar, if this is going to be our official order.
I believe it might be, and there goes down the order. Kian super far down into 12th position right off the good. Andrew holding on to what he believes will be his top spot of the podium. Then Ryan and Andreas going after it, headed down in towards Worth next.
A bit of an offline there for Ryan and Andreas trying to take full advantage of this situation. Let's get on the bonnet here as we go down the back stretch and down into Lacacia. Covers the inside, does Ryan, but he goes back to the racing line, which allows that barn door to be wide open. But Andreas says, no, that's okay. I'm going to wait. The stable doors are there, but we're going to just give it some time. Car spun around. That's Chan Young, who's ended up crashing. Michael also around there and rejoining the circuit here shortly. Dylan gains position. Nicholas drops a position as there's cars moving all over, and this is a race restart.
Ah, man. And to think that we were about to get one full lap here around Barcelona Moto before we got going again. And now we'll have our, what is this, the 4th restart of the night, Mike?
Correct. They say 3 is company, but 4 is, I don't know, the reality. Here we go again. It's 6 red lights this time as we get ready to go green once more. Kean, Andrew, let's try this again. Up at the top, and it's lights out, and away we go once more. And who was that in the mid-pack that just got away like a cannon there? Immediately takes a position away. I think that was Dylan who got by Andrew into second position. A lovely little start. Almost looked like he jumped the gun. It was Dylan. Around the outside. Is he going to be trying to take the lead? We're 3 wide in the background. That surely didn't end in tears. Yes, it absolutely did. Who would have seen that coming? Rejoining the circuit, though, and back onto it is everybody. Honestly, not the worst contact I've ever seen, all things considering. It's going to be Lee, who's the biggest gainer out of that. Ryan in the background. Tim also up in a 4th, but that's not Tim G. That is Tim the Imposter, but also just known as Tim, as we like to call him. Spinning in, though, from Michael, and he gets out to the outfield, thankfully. Doesn't collect anyone else a mod off, but the battling ensuing, Sagar. This is certainly a bit of a ding-dong experience.
Absolutely is. We've had a couple of race restarts already, but here's a battle between Nicholas, Bradley, and Andrew. Bradley going up the inside line, headed towards Worth. 3 wide. Oh, no.
Well, that was never going to work. I'm not sure who to blame that one on. I don't know if I blame that on Andrew or not. Maybe. Like, kinda. I definitely don't not blame that on Andrew. Certainly, no one backed out. 3 does not go into 1, Sagar.
3 does not go into 1. That would be the equal sign with the slash through it. Does not equal if you're a mathematician out there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Sagar. There's a move from Ali. Lee gets dispatched very easily, and as they go around the final quarter complex now and on to the start-finish straight, the order after lap 1 and the first official lap 1 is Kean leading Ryan, leading Tim over Ali, over Lee, over Andrew, over Dylan, Freddie in 8th, Andreas in 9th, Chan Young in 10th, Michael in 11th, Ahmad in 12th, Bradley in 13th, and Christopher 14th, Nicholas 15th. What I just said means nothing, though, Sagar, because all of these positions are going to change by the end of this 16 minutes.
They sure will, Mike Noss. The 56 and the 56 going after it, coming through turn 3 and in through Renault Renault.
Come on.
Just testing you there, Mike Dawson. In through Repsol corner. It'll be nose to tail for the 356s, separated by just a handful of tenths between them. And all those blue and white liveries are looking pretty good on the racetrack. Andrew, Lee, and Dylan. Excuse me, we've got 4 of the 56s. Now I'm confused because we have Ali leading Andrew, leading Lee, leading Dylan right now.
One of our favorite things as a commentator is when we have those bright, striking liveries that when you look at them, you say, yes, that is that person. Here tonight, we don't have that. We have 4 of the same car, all lying astern, which makes our jobs a lot harder than they normally are, which, it just is what it is for this case. There's limited liveries as an option, so that is why, of course, there are so many number 56s out there, Andrew, Ollie, and Dylan. It's just a shame that they all found each other at the same time on Track Soccer. It's a shame for us.
Shame for us. Excellent for the racing that we're seeing out on the racing circuit right now. The driver is doing a good job of keeping this one very clean. Donovan Janice says, pretty sure Andrew wasn't part of that. The 3 wide into Worth, he is saying, I believe.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I think it was Andreas. I might have got the names confused. That could be. I definitely it was a hot call in the moment. There was 3 wide. That's all I know. But yeah, certainly it could have been. Yeah, I think you're right in that it was Andreas. That was a bad call. I saw the A and just said the name. That was my fault on that. But Andrew up in the front here, battling with Tim, of course, so not quite in the back burner. Ollie is going to be also in the mix here as we see the 456s out on circuit, but it's Ollie and Andrew sort of giving each other the mix right now. Tim 9 tenths ahead with Ryan 3.5 seconds off the back of Kian. I do have to say, give a round of applause to this man right here in the number 8, because he has shown absolute and utter consistency when he hasn't shown. Well, no, he's new. He's new to the league, of course. No, he's not. He's not new to the league. He's raced in round 1 and 2. Where has this pace come from?
A little bit of practice, I'm guessing, for this driver.
What is going on here? Well, that looked like a disconnect. What did we just see? Ryan steaming. Who was that out of the way? Wow. Again, definitely, I think a little bit of I have no idea what just happened. Either way, Andrew, look at this brilliant maneuver, trying to cook it the long way around of the final quarter complexes. There's no way he doesn't make this one stick. No chicane to get in his way this time as he runs it all the way onto the edge of the circuit, just keeping it between the mayo and the mustard. Rounds onto the start-finish straight, and now your leader, Kian, is now followed by Andrew Janis in P2.
And C-Trade also says, holy cannoli in chat for the side-by-side action, but also mentions that Andrew is flying, matching the leader in times, even with that bump and run that he had, the little side-by-side dingle-dell there. He was able to throw down a time within 1/10 of Kian. So this isn't all said and done just yet. He could catch up to the rear end of Kian by the end of this race, potentially.
Yes, indeed. We'll see. The question, though, is Kian leaving a little bit behind the back burner. I think he might be kind of in hot lap mode at this stage, and he is probably running around 80%, maybe 90%. He's got a bit more in the tank, I would imagine, when it comes to his pace. Andrew's going to have to give a real fighting chance, and we know that if anyone is going to be flopping around like a walleye on the ice of Lake Winnebago, it's going to be this young lad here, Andrew Janis, and he's going to give it his absolute all. Tim, though, is going to try to follow him. That's the thing. He's 9 tenths behind in that slipstream. And here at Barcelona, that is the absolute creme de la creme. You have that slipstream. You can make moves happen. You can make anything really out of nothing, which is going to be Dylan and Lee's scenario. Dylan with a half-hearted look, but it's sort of turned into an overtake. I'm not sure he meant to do that, but either way, whether it was meant to be done or not, the move has been made, and Dylan up into 4th.
And the battle might not just be over yet. Coming through Europe Car and New Holland, looks like Lee is chasing down very aptly, and he is putting down the pedal to the metal for certain. And he does not want this to be his last race with Dylan, but Ryan now threatening. He's half a second away and gaining a lot of bit of time on the drivers out in front, 145.1 compared to the 45.6. So about half a second a lap faster is Ryan over Lee. This gap is going to close down very quickly over this next one.
Well, the gap's gone now because there was a bit of a mistake from Lee, and Ryan says, thank you very much. That was the easiest position that I've ever had in my life. We also saw Kian. He answered back to that pace of Andrew with the fastest lap, a 143.6. Andrew said, no, that's not enough. I am going to do just a little bit better. He responds back with a 143.5. Just slightly quicker, but it's still quicker. He needs a bit more pace, though. With 10 minutes left here, he has to be gaining at least... Oh, goodness, why did I do this to myself? 6 seconds. He needs to gain 2 seconds a lap? Nah. 1.5-ish seconds a lap. Yes, sounds right. Probably not. Either way, Andrew's got a lot of work on his hands here if he wants to catch Kian.
Absolutely true. Kian has been putting in some stonking lap times. Andrew as well, doing the best that he can right now. But those battling up and down the grid right now. Here's Nicholas and Chan Young. Chan Young driving the orange, number 33 in front of the number 56 Divine Audio car. Excuse me. And there was a switch for position between Freddie and Bradley in the back, number 56 and 32.
Again, sorry to change the subject, but Kian responds back with another fastest lap. Andrew couldn't answer this time. Look at this. We got Scribe, as you mentioned, all the way throughout the field. Bradley and Freddie having their little bout, and Freddie getting the worst end of it, but Bradley here up into 13th. Lucky number 13 for some. Unlucky for Bradley tonight, it seems. Chan Young, what's happened here? Christopher is off the track. Chan Young, Nicholas Ahmad, and everybody else gaining a position behind. The battle rages on, though, onto the start-finish straight, and this is where you were going to see that trigger get pulled. Nicholas in the slipstream. Chan Young, is he going to be a sitting duck? No, he's, wow, much further ahead than I expected.
Yeah, quite a bit of distance between the two drivers right now, but you can see Nicholas using all the track space going in towards Elf, and Chan Young a little bit defensive there, and possibly more defensive than he needed to be, headed in towards turn 3. They're still separated by about 0.8 of a second. Dylan gets another position over Tim up at the front. 3rd and 4th place get inverted for just a few seconds.
My goodness, we almost watched Nicholas there have a trip to the barrier, and oh no, Chan Young has a trip into the gravel trap with a very similar move that we actually saw from Nicholas, and that is a unfortunate case of too much throttle. Andreas maybe found victim. No, he gets returned to the pits because he drove backwards on track. That's unfortunate. You hate to see. I think that's what caused that. Andreas with a unfortunate, more than likely DNF in this race now. As a result, he'll be able to get back out on track. Hopefully he can, he'll get back out on track, so he's not going to have a DNF. But this is going to affect his point standings, absolutely. Andreas coming into tonight before the previous round was around 14th, which is very uncharacteristic of Andreas, if you ask me. I think he's a much quicker driver than that. He's shown it in the past. He's shown it in the present, to be honest. It's just not really coming up sunshine and rainbows recently for him.
No, unfortunately not. Here's a battle between Tim and Dylan. Battle for the last points paying position on the podium tonight. And we've got 7 minutes remaining left on the clock. This is still anybody's ball game to get a little taste of champagne and potentially a trophy at World of Racing headquarters tonight.
It is, but is it more than likely going to be Kian? Honestly, probably. Anything can happen in racing, and it normally does. Andrew does not seem to have the pace, and I think he's settled in. He knows it. He's kind of just developed a rhythm and hasn't closed the gap, and the gap hasn't extended. So that 143.5, 143.6 pace is sort of all Andrew is going to be able to muster, it seems, in this race pace. And Kian able to answer that is just enough. And he hasn't really put a tire wrong yet, has Kian. So I don't expect to see Andrew really catching him, but anything, again, can happen in racing. We'll be keeping an eye on that delta. Dylan he is not going to be so lucky. Tim seems to be catching him up a little bit here. He did get that overtake very recently, but has still not pulled away. 1 second's the gap. Ollie and Ryan, about a second as well. Let's see what happens here. But also Bradley and Chan Young down in 11th. This has been going on for a while now. Chan Young and Bradley, sort of been a battle of mistakes, it seems, between the two.
The 33 leads the 32 again, and Christopher is off somewhere on track. Parked at turn 2, it looks like. Not having a great time of it right now. But Ali is 2/10 away from Ryan. The battle between 5th and 6th is about to get a little bit spicier as they come around the New Holland corner and head down the front straightaway.
Oh, look at the overspeed. This isn't even going to be a contention. As we go into the braking zone, it's the outside line for Ollie, but he's well ahead by the time we reach the brakes. And it's a late defense here from Ryan. He manages to hold on. Did he give ample space to Ollie at the apex? I'll be honest, the camera angle that we had did not quite show that, but either way, the results are the same. Ollie has to go for it another time, and Ryan going to be sweating quite a lot right now because Ollie is firmly applying the pressure.
And this is going to be a close battle for the top 5 between Ali and Ryan, the 56 and number 1, going elbow for elbow right now and forcing each other to be on their best behavior. The 56 trails the car in front, the number 1, and a little bit of a mistake there from Ryan coming out of Worth, it looks like. And now nose to tail between the two drivers. Who is it going to be headed towards I'm not even going to pronounce it. Bank Sabadell next is the next passing opportunity as we get to Europe car. Riding on board with Ali, he's going a little bit deep into La Silla, and now coming through Bank Sabadell. It'll be nose to tail, but a little bit of a gap is actually forming between himself and Ryan, and that's not what he wants to get a little bit of that overspeed that we were talking about headed down in towards turn 1.
You have to be on the back bumper. You basically need to be a new license plate for the car ahead. And we know these GT3s, regulation, they don't have license plates, and Ryan is taking that quite seriously. Look at how far away he is. DRS sign on the left, that means nothing to these cars. There is a solid wing for them. It does quite a lot as well for these GT3s, providing a whole heap of downforce. They have that diffuser as well, providing even more. So through these corners here, this is where it really will shine, especially for the Audi. You just have to be so delicate, like there's an egg underneath your throttle pedal, not to be too brutal or else you're going to be spinning the wrong way. The assists are very minimal in these cars, and it certainly shows.
You're obviously going to get full TC and ABS, but set to the lowest possible settings possible to get the most rotation out of these vehicles. We've talked about it before. We'll say it again. Through the low speed corners, the cars are just understeering. They're almost cumbersome to get fully rotated around, but during the high speed corners, the car is just so nimble and agile. We've seen a couple drivers even get oversteer and spin their cars round. It's been super unfortunate, but very exciting race with just 2 minutes and 45 seconds remaining tonight.
Wow, you're absolutely right. 2 minutes and 45 seconds, this race has flown by. I honestly did not realize. I thought we still had like 10 minutes left. Okay, this is, we position change there between Freddie and Chan Young. I think they were just having a bit of a swapperoo. Chan Young with a poor exit and Freddie able to make do. Ollie wants that dream to become a reality that I just mentioned of having a nice and easy overtake like taking candy from a baby, but Ryan is no baby. He is certainly one that is more than capable of driving this Audi Aero V10 or the Aero V10, whatever you want to call it. And onto the start-finish straight one more time. Ollie is a heck of a lot closer. That forces a response out of Ryan, and a very defensive one at that. Side by side, door banging down the straight. The inside is covered. It's going to be Ollie the long way around, and it's not going to be the move done. Beautiful defense from Ryan. It was an aggressive one, but he holds on, and he just needs to do so for one more time around.
Really great defensive maneuver there. Like you said, a bit aggressive. Not what we like to see coming down the straightaway. Two cars door banging, but headed into Repsol corner. Ali's on the racing line, and Ryan's trying to defend, parking it on the apex there. Ali looking for the switchback to try to get that thing engaged. Can't find the daylight. Now through Sia. It looks like nose to tail right now between the drivers. They know that they're just going to get this one more bonus lap, and that's going to be it. Ali moving to the racing line again, coming down to the next corner. Switchback engaged. Will he get it planted through Worth? A little bit of a slip and slide, a drifterino. And he gets the move done on Ryan, but gives the position back like the gentleman he is.
Yeah, that is the right call from Ali. It was technically, depending on what racing series you're watching, if it's Formula One, yeah, it might be a legal overtake, but he is a man of character, a man of class, you might say, and we're actually going to get one more lap. So here we're going to be seeing the Kian just cross the line right about now and start the final lap here tonight of the GT3 League. It's round 2, race 4. For the night here, and looking at the championship, Andrew was leading coming into it, Dylan in second, Robert in third. It's been a shakeup of the order, no doubt, because Kian, with his back-to-back victory, almost certainly has put himself in contention here for the lead. Down the start finish straight, though, it's going to be Ali and Ryan. Those are the two that we're looking at for the time being and for the next 2.6 miles. Again, to the outside, it's deja vu for Ali and Ryan. Is it going to be the same outcome, though? No, a little bit different, and it's a more aggressive send to the outside here. And Ali, I'm almost certain he is kind of entitled to that one. Ryan definitely forced him out a little bit wide, Sauger. I almost wouldn't mind it of seeing Ali hold that position, but he's going to give it his college effort, and he's going to try to make it between the lines.
Yeah, and this is where the true drivers are separated, the good ones from the bad ones. Ali knew that it wasn't a truly valid on-track overtake, gave that position up through Renault, and was able to get the move, trying to get the move done and dusted on another part of the racing circuit, but knowing that he's just got the white flag waving on this occasion, might not be able to get the move fully solidified here.
And I think we're going to have to cut away from it pretty much at the time of this attempted overtake. This is going to be the last real attempt, which is why I haven't changed the camera just yet. Is it going to happen? Ali looks to the inside. He sells the dummy to the outside. Has to go the long way around, but it is covered off. It's a switchback attempt in the mid-corner, but this is going to be the outside line for the next. Kian crosses the line, takes victory, but this battle still hot on for the taking, and it's going to be Ryan for the advantage, and it looks like Ali has to concede for P6. Ryan, hats off defense, but it's Kian takes victory over Andrew. Dylan, third position with Tim in fourth. Ryan and Ali take a bow with a brilliant finish ahead of Lee, Michael in eighth, Nicholas in ninth, and Bradley Sauger rounding out your top 10.
Great job. And then Ahmad in 11th, Chan Young in 12th position, Freddie in 13th, Christopher in 14th, and Andreas in 15th position.
Unfortunate for Andreas as we head back to the booth. Welcome back, folks. A very unlucky end for Andreas, as I mentioned. The on-track spin turned into DNF. Never how you want to finish a race, that is to be said for certain. But when all was said and done, when the curtain closed, it's Kian with a back-to-back victory. And again, looking at looking at the standings, he was fourth coming into the standings tonight. This Sauger almost came out of nowhere, in my opinion.
Yeah, Kian's done a really great job, and a huge haul of points for him tonight. That'll be 200 points, or basically 100 points, added to his tally, and that should promote him well up into the top positions of this championship. And
2, 4, 6 round championship, 12 round. It depends on how you break it up. So 12 events, no, 12 rounds, 6 events. There we go. You heard it here first. World of Racing from Mike Noss. Hopefully that's correct. But folks, that is going to do it here for tonight for us, as that is going to conclude the league nights. If you are interested in joining, of course, again, head on down to World of Racing, head on over to the website, check them out. It is a top of the line experience with Sigma Interglade equipment, also full on motion. That's what, by the way, Sigma Interglade specializes in, is the motion rigs, as well as the Hussenfeld pedals, the Simicube wheels, and all the way around some incredible staff to help you on your experience. Again, whether you are on a budget, whether you have a lot of time on your hands and are willing to take some coaching lessons as well, we offer everything from hot lap sessions to coaching to incredible bundles as well for members. So do check it out, folks. Head on down to World of Racing if you are in Tustin, Pasadena, or in Kansas City, Kansas. Those are the 3 locations for the time being. More to potentially come. Who knows? Anyways, folks, on that note, Sagar, is there anything you'd like to say before we do conclude here tonight?
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a wonderful evening as always. And as always, my sign off is stay safe, everybody.
And on that, folks, we'll be back very soon here on World of Racing. So do hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you haven't already. And in the meantime, I hope everybody has a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Thank you, and good night.